Let me ask you a question. What do all these extremely popular tourist destinations have in common? If you say expensive prices, well, you're right. But also, what they have in common is that they all have a lot of McDonald's. McDonald's may have started as an American fast food chain, but it has exploded since then and has many branches all across the world. Now sure, not every country has McDonald's, but if the country has good economy, you could probably guess that they have at least one McDonald's branch. But even then, there's a country in Europe that has a very good economy, is a very popular tourist destination that does not have a single McDonald's branch. But why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Iceland, one of Europe's most popular tourist destinations that oddly enough doesn't have a single McDonald's. Well, there actually was McDonald's branches, but it all fell apart. Here's the story of why McDonald's failed in Iceland.
John Gardar Ogmundsson, the owner of List HR, the McDonald's franchise holder in Iceland, said the economic situation had made it just too expensive to run the business.
Well, let's go back to 1993, when McDonald's actually opened their first ever branch in Iceland. And not just that, the Prime Minister was the first ever customer at McDonald's. He even ate the first ever McDonald's hamburger that was made in Iceland. And McDonald's was extremely popular when it launched in Iceland amongst Icelandic people. They loved McDonald's. There were lines upon lines of customers at McDonald's. So basically, things were going great. Well, they were going great until 2008. 2008 came along with it a sort of, little event called the 2008 Global Financial Crisis. Now, what happened in the 2008 financial crisis, you might ask? Well, basically, it originated in the US, and it's all about mortgages. What is a mortgage? Well, in simple terms, when a person in the US wants to buy a house, they get like hundreds of thousands of dollars from a bank. In exchange for that, the bank gets a paper. What does this piece of paper mean? It means that you have to pay a little portion of that hundreds of thousands of dollars that they gave you every single month. But what happens if you don't pay? Well, whoever has that piece of paper will just straight up take the house. And here's the funny bit, the bank can actually sell that piece of paper to anyone they want. Well, and that kind of became a business, financial companies would sell these patch of mortgages and companies would buy little portions of them. And a lot of experts sort of economic things happened that I'm not gonna get into, and it's probably not gonna be that fun when I discuss very complex economic terms. But basically, one of the most affected countries by this whole thing was Iceland. Well, in Iceland, there were like these three very big banks. These banks were so big that their assets were 10 times the GDP of the country. So when this whole bank crisis is going on, obviously the country is gonna be very affected. And even if there was 320,000 people in the entire Iceland almost, there were almost 70,000 families that had taken loans from these banks. So them having a crisis is a very big deal. And after the US investment bank Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, it basically was game over. The entire global market was frozen. And what I mean by global market is not global trade or anything. What I mean is banks giving money to each other. So basically these three banks that were more expensive than the country didn't have any sort of way to get money, which was a problem, which led to banks collapsing, the economy basically going whee, and just everything was fine. The Icelandic currency even lost half its value in just a few months. Inflation was 18%. It was crazy. And now let's go back to McDonald's. What were they up to? Well, it was not good for McDonald's at all. Because here's the thing. They actually imported raw ingredients from Germany. And with all this economic jargon going on, basically importing stuff was very, very expensive. To the point where the official franchise owner said that for a kilo of onion, he was essentially paying the price of a good whiskey. And in order to remain in business and make a profit, normal business stuff, they would have to increase their prices by almost 20%. So say the Big Mac would have costed almost $6.36, making it the most expensive Big Mac at that time. And increasing your menu's prices by almost 20% is not that good of a decision, you know? So basically, they just pulled the plug. They closed the franchise in October 31st, 2009. And the funny thing is, the franchisee or the franchise owner actually said that the days that were leading up to the closure of the franchise were very, very busy. Like, a lot of Icelandic people just wanted to experience McDonald's for the last time. This also happened with other popular restaurants. Now, not all of them closed their franchises. There was like KFC who still operate. And amazingly, the last ever purchase made at a McDonald's in Iceland is still out there. This is the last ever order made at a McDonald's in Iceland. Well, after the franchise closed, the franchise owner actually opened another restaurant. Or not really another restaurant, it was the same McDonald's locations, but he renamed it to Metro. Now, Metro isn't actually an Icelandic word, it just, Metro. And they, funnily enough, closed one of the locations that were also one of the McDonald's locations previously. So you see, previously there was 3 McDonald's locations, and now there's 2 left, and they're not actually called McDonald's, they're called Metro, and they're actually pretty similar. Now, obviously, Iceland isn't anymore in a crisis. Far from it. They're actually experiencing a lot of economic prosperity. Now, would we see McDonald's in Iceland? I don't know. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And I really should take this jacket off because I am going to swim in sweat. Oh, much better.